Thanks for coming back to the studio with us. My name is Gina Vang. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Avanti Destinations. And today I have a very special guest with me. It's Kiri.
Kia ora.
So nice to have you here in Portland. Is it your first time in Portland?
Yeah, my first time to Portland.
What do you think so far?
Oh, it's beautiful. It was a beautiful drive. We drove up from Seattle. Oh, down.
Yes, it was down.
Yes, we drove today, so it's been gorgeous. Yeah, seeing the lay of the
lovely.
land.
Lovely. And what brings you here to the US?
Well, the US is a huge market for tourism in New Zealand and visitation, and this is the first time a Māori-only collective of tourism product has visited North America. And it was a deliberate decision to bring Māori-owned and or operated visitor experiences, because what we've seen since really the pandemic, even before then, but since the pandemic, is quite a high demand from this market for meaningful cultural experiences and meaningful land experiences, or with the land, with the mountains, with the oceans, with the rivers. So this way we've collected a set of tourism experiences and people who we feel resonate well with this market. And we're being really deliberate in the way that we're thinking about who we want to work with, because New Zealand is a tiny country that pre-COVID had a massive set of footprints over it. And I think that the pandemic really, especially for Māori tourism in my view, gave us a moment for pause to reconsider why it is we're in this game and what we're hoping to achieve and how sustainable is it. So for the product that we've brought up here are those that are really mindful of future generations and also offer excellent visitor experiences.
That's an amazing concept, and I think very important as we move forward as an industry, is bringing not only beautiful destinations, but there's so many more reasons why to travel the world and to learn and to have cultural connections. And can you give us just a brief overview of the types of experiences that you're bringing to market here in the US?
Sure. I think one thing to explain too is, and which I think is really important, or it's certainly important to us, is that the why that Māori tribes and entities and organisations are even participating in tourism. And I think for the most part it would be safe to say, like the organisation I work for is an Ahu Whenua Trust, which has 3 sustainable geothermal energy plants. So it supplies about 3 or 4% of the national grid of electricity to New Zealand. So that generates a lot of revenues. What their responsibility is to ensure that anything they touch investment-wise is sustainable for future generations, so that our kids are inheriting wonderful things, not a burden. So things like the geothermal station, they own a number of farms, and so they have a very strong food strategy so that their own people will be fed first ultimately, and supermarkets and export markets supplied last. They have a really strong focus on their own tribal people, ensuring that they have well-being across mental, physical, education, at all levels of ages of their lives. And the reason that they are now investing in tourism, and they're not alone in this, there's a number of trusts and iwi who are doing the same, is because tourism provides or enables us to draw our children back to tribal lands with meaningful work, and it enables them to learn more about themselves and to share of themselves with others, therefore celebrating the culture that they come from. And we can generate revenues, which then pay it forward, go back into the trusts, which then support their dental care, their medical care, their university scholarships, their all manner of things. So when we were looking at who we might bring to market, there's a sort of an off the beaten track set of beautiful visitor experiences in the top of the North Island so every tribal area throughout the country, it seems obvious to say it, but have a very different set of stories and a very different reason for being and very different ways of telling stories. And in the top of the North, the experiences that we have brought include from the very tip of the North Island, Spirits Bay, where almost all people would go visit, is of great significance to us as people. That's where we see our spirits departing after death. Through to the west coast of the Hokianga. Most people know the east coast of the North Island. Very few people know the west coast, and that's a very big Māori community. So there we have our story of the beginning of time, with the ancient kauri forests that have been standing there for thousands and thousands of years, and we take people on a sort of a spiritual journey into the forest to meet those trees and feel their presence, in essence. And then the sort of beginning of Aotearoa's human story begins with a person called Kupe, who traversed the Pacific Islands and discovered Aotearoa, New Zealand, and arrived through the Hokianga Harbour. So that's the beginning of New Zealand's human story. There are really ancient glowworm caves, which are operated, owned, and delivered by a family of people. So a very boutique set of experiences up that way. And also ngāwha. So ngāwha for us is the bubbling, the geothermal waters that you bathe in. And whilst it's a spa experience in essence, you're actually sharing these waters that for multiple generations have been used to restore physical ailments to good health, but also nourish the soul. So that's where we will go. We sit in the baths, we talk, we commune, we take care of each other. So that's kind of like their story. And then some sort of 6 hours by driving to the middle of the North Island is Rotorua and Taupo, or the Central Plateau, famous for volcanic activity, for remarkable geothermal pools and colours, for Mount Tarawera, for a set of around 7 mountains that cut through the middle of the North Island, with a very different and kind of volcanic vibe versus what you might see in the South Island, which is all alpine, lots of snow. And so each of those mountains has their own stories. Each of those mountains has their own people who belong to them and their history to share. So in that space, you can share in those histories by either, say, for example, with Chris Jolly, taking a fly fishing expedition on Great Lake Taupo, or hiking into a wilderness spot to fly fish with volcanic air. You can fly across all of those geothermal areas, the 16 lakes that sit around our region, from the coast to the middle of the Central Plateau, Tongariro. Within the Central Plateau, you can, with Chris Jolly Adventures, which is half owned by Tūwhare Toa, the tribe, you can go with him or one of his guides and go fly fishing in any number of places, but including Great Lake Taupo. With Tim and Volcanic Air, there are multiple incredible flights you can take across that region that will take you from the coast right down into the heart of the North Island, traversing geothermal fields, 16 different lakes, 17 including Taupo, vast stands of forest, and lots of colourful volcanic activity. With us, you can take a jet boat ride just 15 minutes north of Taupo on the way to Rotorua. And that's a 35-minute experience that traverses, it's quite a tricky jet boat drive in terms of technical challenge for drivers, traverses whitewater rapids and shares some history of the riverway. The people I work for belong to that stretch of river, so you're hearing not only as an adventure, but it's also an expression of tribal, their own sovereignty over their own future, if you like, but also the stories that celebrate that waterway. Waiotapu is a geothermal field which is probably, as far as I know, the most colourful and brilliant colours of any geothermal space in the world, let alone New Zealand. There is a rainforest walk, Whirinaki rainforest walk. There is then, of course, ourselves at Te Pātu, which is a 4-hour cultural experience that is modulated with the seasons of our traditional lunar calendar. And change out with winter and summer. So, and the reasons to do both of those, I would say that they're markedly different interpretations of and fonts of knowledge, if you like, tribal knowledge that is unique to themselves.
Well, Kiri, that is an amazing overview of the North Island of New Zealand, and I think that with Avanti just launching our product, we know that there's other suppliers and other tour operators in the field. People can book direct and find out so much information online, but together through our partnerships, I think it's really just creates so much convenience, a seamless travel experience for the travel advisor to book, but also for their end customer to actually enjoy not just the beautiful scenery, but also the magnificent culture and the wonderful opportunities for learning and for personal growth that are available on these types of vacations. So thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
and cannot wait to send passengers to you.
Me neither.
Thanks so much everyone for joining us today, and hope to catch you on the next Avanti update.